Welcome to episode 4 of Trend Talks Threat Research. I'm your host, Jon Clay, VP of Threat Intelligence here at Trend Micro. And this week, I am going to talk about a new piece of research that we just published. In fact, it is our 2024 Security Predictions Report, something we do every year. And I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into what's going on with this. In years past, we've done anywhere from 5 to 15 different predictions. This year we have 5 predictions that I'm going to cover. A few things to note. 2023, there was a number of drivers that were affecting us this year. And obviously those come into play when we think about what predictions we're going to put. We asked our threat researchers inside Trend Micro to put on their prediction hat, and they gave us 5 of them. And I'm going to go through each of those in just a moment. But a couple of things that I wanted to highlight in terms of drivers of what we are thinking about. What happened in 2023 obviously affects 2024. First, cyber wars, right? We have war in Ukraine and Russia. There was a lot of cyber warfare going on between the two in that conflict. We also have a war in Israel and Hamas. Not a lot of cyber going on there. That's more of a kinetic war, but we have seen a few cyber incidences targeting Israeli organizations. So we'll see. I think these are, they obviously are not ending. They're going to continue into 2024, and that could see some shifts in with other areas of the world, what's going on. AI advances are huge. Obviously, generative AI, we'll talk about that in one of our predictions. Supply chain attacks continue to cause challenges for us. Ransomware increased actually in 2023. We're going to probably see some advances in 2024. It's obviously a very successful monetarily with the actors behind it, and we don't see any stopping of that. One shift there, though, is shifting to data exfiltration. So data exfil first and then drop some ransomware afterwards. The adversaries are definitely getting more sophisticated. These hackers are continuing to improve their skills. They are the underground business development. We published a report recently looking at small, medium, and large-sized businesses in the underground. They're going to continue. They're going to continue to grow. You're going to see small business move into become a medium-sized business and becoming a large-sized business in the underground. All of that is causing challenges for us as defenders to deal with the sophistication of these attackers. Cyber insurance certainly had a lot of stuff happening. They're starting to dictate a lot of what you have to do in order to get a premium and a policy. And then laws and regulations certainly are going to affect us in 2024, especially around AI, I believe. So let's look at some of these new the predictions that we have. So first, cloud native worms will exploit security gaps. So the cloud infrastructure is definitely a new attack surface that adversaries are targeting, and they're going to continue to target more in 24. And one of the ways they can do that, they want to automate more of their attacks. One way to automate that is to build a worm. Worms are very effective. They cause lots of damage. They're quick to propagate. And they're very difficult to eradicate because they just continue to try to propagate over and over once they find an infection source. And if that infection source gets fixed, well, the nature of a worm is it's going to go find a new infection source and then try to propagate. So we definitely think that will be one of the tactics and one of the tools in there that adversaries will look at in the future. Obviously, lots of vulnerabilities, misconfigurations happening in the cloud. That's just going to cause worms to propagate even better. So that's certainly one. Weaponized data versus cloud-based ML models is another prediction that we think. So obviously, artificial intelligence, it all requires data to training data to create your models that give you the results. And we think in 2024, we'll start to see some potentially data poisoning happening in this area. So if I can poison your training data, I can obviously affect the outcome of what that AI is producing. And so we definitely think this is going to start happening. I don't think it's going to be widespread, but certainly adversaries may be looking at this as a way to hamper, or cause challenges for organizations that are utilizing AI. Certainly, extortion attacks could be seen in this area as well. Another prediction: CI/CD systems will suffer software supply chain attacks. So as businesses continue to build their development process, their software development process, they're going to adversaries will target all aspects of that. If they can get into the supply chain of a business, then certainly they can cause a lot of damage, but they also can get a lot of victims that way. And so we definitely think we're going to see more supply chain type of attacks where they actually target maybe the developers of that supply chain in that CI/CD pipeline. So if I can affect and compromise the developer, I can obviously put in malicious code, malicious tools into that supply chain, and that can cause challenges. And so we'll see that continuing in 2024. We did a study back in this year where over half of global organizations had part of their supply chains compromised by ransomware. So certainly we think we'll continue to see this challenge for a lot of businesses. Another one, and again, getting into generative AI, right? Generative AI will level up social engineering lures. So this is an area where, we did some research into some forums where the adversaries were talking about their use of generative AI. And what we found is actually they aren't using it that much right now. What they're talking about trying to do is more jailbreaking, where they're trying to get around the current security controls built into generative AI. So, for example, I can't go and tell generative AI to create a virus for me, a piece of malware for me, develop that. Because there's security controls around doing that. So they're trying to figure out how can I get around those security controls? And that's something we're going to continue to see. But one of the big advances we think with generative AI is probably in social engineering. So it can create phishing emails. You just ask it to create a phishing email. It can create the email flawlessly. It'll be there no misspellings, no grammatical errors. They can embed links. They can embed QR codes, whatever it might be. It allows you to do that. And then secondly, it can create those in any language that you want. And again, they'll create them in a flawless manner. So you won't have any of the challenges or any of the issues you used to be able to recognize in a phishing email very quickly, right? If you saw misspellings, you could see the URL in many cases. So that's something that's going to cause some challenges for us moving forward. Business email compromise is going to become much more difficult, especially with voice cloning. We think voice cloning will probably be one of the more popular areas that the adversaries look into in the use of generative AI in 2024. Whether it's in virtual kidnapping and whether it's for business email compromise. For example, I create a business email compromise email and I say, hey, call me to verify this, and you embed a phone number in that. The person on the receiving end calls that phone number and they use a voice cloning to say, hey, this is approved by the person, their voice. And so they end up transferring wire transferring dollars to that account. So certainly this is going to be a challenge for us in the future as well. And then the blockchain will be fresh hunting grounds for extortionists. And this is where we have some researchers that are looking into blockchain and smart contracts and the challenges with blockchain. And they're predicting that this year that a lot of businesses may start looking at the use of blockchain and smart contracts for managing financial transactions internally to the business. And so you may implement blockchains. You can implement blockchains both locally as well as using a cloud version of some of these. And that can certainly there are going to be gaps and vulnerabilities associated with that the adversaries may take advantage of. Again, I don't believe that this is going to be a widespread issue because blockchain is not widespread use yet inside organizations, even for financial transactions. But we may see more of it in 2024, so we think that could be an area that could cause some challenges. And so when you think about that, those are the predictions we had in our security prediction 2024 predictions report. You can download that report from our research area of our website and take a look at it. A lot more details, obviously, in the report than I gave you here, but certainly these are some of the things that you could foresee being used here. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining me on episode 4 of Trend Talks Threat Research. I'll be back in 2 weeks to look at I'll be talking about a bunch of the research that we published over time. Again, I'm shifting between the two. One is going to be more in-depth on one piece of research like today. The next one will be talking about a bunch of different researchers that you can look at and give you some ideas of why you would want to look at those. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.